Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning trading session. The end of a short work week. Yesterday, very tricky trading. The market just stuck in a sideways churn. I'll review yesterday's range. We had some decent swings, both lower and higher. So out of the gate, the market very, very sideways. A little bit of a rally throughout the day. Took that back in the afternoon and then recovered slightly going into the close. Looks like the overnight, very quiet, very sideways as well. And I guess that's a little bit unusual. Normally we see the markets with a little bit more volatility, but not lately. All right, so out of the open, it looks like we've got a little bit of a bearish trend here. This is actually our first in-sync eagle signal of the day right here. For those of you who like to do that first eagle trade, try to catch some of that early momentum. I think I'm going to hang on here a little bit and just try to get a feel for which way the market might be leaning. Out of the gate. We got a first micro-macro cross to sell here on the hawk. I wonder if they are going to have a little bit more of a bearish bent to them this morning. Like I said, it's still very early. Makes for some boring trading, that's for sure. But as I've said before, if trading is your hobby, oh, there are far less expensive hobbies. If your objective, however, is to try to make money, then you'll want to be a little bit pickier, I think, about which trades you actually go chasing. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this first micro-macro cross signal. Just when you take a look at the context preceding it, you need to be aware that this might be a test of the low, and the signal may fail. So in that sense, you can still take the trade, but you may choose to dial down your risk amount a little bit, or try to run an extra deep stop to try to ride out a probable swing, which is what we're looking at now. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're possibly making a rule of 4 signal here to short. right? So it looks like the first micro-macro cross signal, which tripped right here, just found its profit objective. So that was actually a pretty good little swing to the short side. I guess there is a little bit of an overnight gap lower. The overall market trend, even though the market may be topping, the overall market trend does seem to be up. So I think I'm going to favor buying opportunities today. For you Raptor traders, we have a number one signal here printing. It's the same as that first micro-macro cross signal that I was just talking about. It's not that it isn't a valid signal, it is. But again, in the context, you can't ignore everything to the left of your chart. In the context, you've got to wonder, look, we've had a swing low here, another swing low here. It is possible the market's going to swing again. Therefore, maybe I'm going to dial back the risk, maybe just go in with a single. Maybe I'm going to run a deeper stop to start in case the market tries to pull back a little bit so I don't get stopped prematurely. We're also producing too many signals. Whenever you get a market, it doesn't matter which tool you're looking at. Look at how the signals, how many signals are producing here. We're getting signals all over the map. That's again showing us that there's very little follow through. Here was a 3-arrow consolidation, which we didn't take because it's a 3-arrow, not a 4, even though the principle remains the same. It was also the first micro-macro cross. Here now is a 4-arrow consolidation and a macro pullback. I don't know, is it going to be a slow grind lower? But normally we don't see signals printing this frequently. Normally, it's a little bit more like this. We get a signal, there's some follow through. We get a signal, there's some follow through. Both these signals, by the way, look like they would have hit their high probability profit objectives. All right, the markets might be shoring up here a little bit. The Raptor is going to be one of those tools that gives us um, an earlier counter trend signal. The Falcon giving us a couple of double dots, but I will concentrate here on the Raptor because that will give us a proper number 2 signal if in fact the market is going to rally from here. We're getting a little bit of bullish pushback. You can see here on the Geiger counter, it was swinging here and stuck to the buy side momentarily. We'll see if there's any follow through on that. All right, this could be a test. There it is. There's the, I'm going to just punch in a buy order and then I will explain. So we've got a retest here of the low. The market's trying to change direction. So we're coming in now with our counter trend signal. That's the number 2 signal, the soft edge buy. They slipped me a tick again on the entry. So the market's a little bit on the thin side, which I'm not really keen on. Now, this is the first trade of the day. You could try to run this out. If the market's going to go anywhere today, it will probably try to do so early. But I think after the last couple of days, the choppiness that we've seen, the lack of the follow through, I think I'll just take my profit target if I can get it. Covering below the lows of the day, which will tell me without a doubt, Eric, you are on the wrong side of this trade, if it goes against me, of course. All right, so here's the initial reaction to the hard edge on the cloud. Whenever we hit the hard edge of the trading cloud, you should always anticipate a reaction. That's why I held my stop back a little bit. Oh dear, we came back with a number 3 hard edge bounce signal. Not what I was looking for, but the overall market bias is up. So like I said, I'm going to give a little bit of preference to the buyers today. It looks like the E-mini is putting in a little bit of a rally. Maybe that'll help pull the NASDAQ along. But still a whole lot of overlap. The market's just retracing its ranges. Did it here? Did it here? See that, how that's sideways trading? All right, come on, buyers. Let's give it a good old rally higher. Well, that was a little unexpected. Now watch them reverse now that they broke the low. Scoundrels. All right, so maybe they don't want to go higher today. Maybe I will concentrate on the short signals. We're getting a follow-up sell signal here now on the hawk. If in fact they are going to head lower, we should see one more pullback through here. See, look at that. They just went low enough to tag me. Because mine wouldn't have been the only stop down there. The lack of trading volume is a little bit of a concern because the last 4 or 5 trades I've done have all had slippage, which is unusual in a market like the NASDAQ. Okay, drifting a little bit lower down to the secondary support line now at 59.45. That's pretty close to yesterday's lows. Here's a good comment from Peter. Peter says, good morning, Eric. Since I've been keeping a journal, Fridays are not my best days. See, that's the whole point of keeping a trading journal, folks. If Peter had not kept a record of his trades on Friday, he might never come to that conclusion. Fridays are tough days for me too, Peter. The market can be very uncooperative on a Friday. I wouldn't be surprised to see another pushback, though. It just kind of seems to be the nature of the markets right now. I'm using the dynamic equivolume bars here on my charts, and they'll print wider bars where there's more volume, narrower bars where there's less volume. You can see we're getting a fair amount of volume coming through these last couple of bars, at least relative to what's been preceding it. Why is that significant? Well, it's telling us that there's a little bit more activity here. Wider bars, more trading, tends to happen when the market's at a turning point. So for instance, well, this was still early, but you'll always notice there's going to be heavier bars when the market's getting ready to turn around. All right, there's another number 2 signal. I will try to buy this one again, and they slipped me a tick again. You stinkers. This one I'm going to try to run out. I'm going to try to run this one out and see if I can't offset that earlier loss. Come on. If the market is going to turn around at this point, once again, I got to keep my stop a little bit further back. Give the buyers every opportunity to rally. Right now, buyers a little reluctant to show up. I suppose, given the sideways nature of the market this whole week, practically, I should have incorporated maybe a second push entry into this signal. So the second push entry simply means we allowed the signal to engage, and then we allowed the signal to flinch so that we know the current limit of the market. I think that's wise, Peter. Peter says, Eric just did 2 quick trades for a loss of $60, so that's it for me. I'm up on the week with a $600 profit. Nicely done, Peter. Peter says, you got to know when to fold them. Yeah, that is so true. Well, you've done well, Peter. You've done really well. Anytime you finish the week in the black, it's a good week. Okay, target for the number 2 soft edge buy signal, of course, the hard edge of the trading band. And I'm looking for a little bit extra out of this one. The E-mini is still rallying. The NASDAQ still dragging its feet. I'd love to see the market get up here just a little bit. Give me a little bit of elbow room before the first pullback, and there will be a pullback. Just a little note regarding these number 2 signals as well. They tend to do better after a number 3 signal. Just a little fun fact. see if anything else is getting a little more bullish. The hawk, moderately bullish. We're coming in now with a red bar buy signal on the hawk. Oh, got another hard edge sell. If you're going to do the hard edge sell, I would suggest using the second push on this signal. You can see the Falcon might actually be working. The Falcon already has a trend change to the upside. That kind of coincided with our number 2 signal here. And we might even be working a late filter entry to the upside, which would be rather bullish. Right now, the Eagle is still the only part of the system that is still bearish. This is do or die for the buyers, though. If this signal follows through, it'll take out the lows. So we've got strong buying here on the Geiger counter. That's good. I like seeing that. Hopefully that will carry the market higher. Jay says my Raptor didn't produce a number 2 signal. Let me show you what you can do with that. And I'll show you here on crude oil because we've got an active trade on the NASDAQ. The Raptor 2.0 is much more tweakable than any other system that Indicator Warehouse has released. You can actually adjust your soft edge parameters a little bit. So if you click on your indicator panel and you go down here to your Raptor 2.0, about halfway down, you'll see signal parameters SE. That stands for soft edge. By default, the extreme retest sensitivity is set at 1.01. The higher this value is, the more number 2 signals you will print. I find 1.25 to be a good all-around setting. It gives you more number 2 signals than the default setting, but not so many number 2 signals that you start taking a bunch of real bad signals. So I'm guessing, Jay, that you're probably still running the default setting. So you can go make those changes, click apply, and you will, the Raptor will find a few more number 2 signals for you. Okay, the seller's still quite strong. They push the market much deeper than I thought they would manage. And this is, again, another test of the extreme, a retest of the low. We're coming back with a reversal signal, getting the soft edge buy. If this one trips, hopefully we'll see the market actually get a little bit of momentum. If we can get above the 59, 52 half high right here, that should open things up a little bit, and I could see a retrace here to the high of the day, maybe even to the 59.61 half area where the median line also sits. counter trend signals always, always, always more difficult to trade. In fact, easily 3/4 of my losing trades are counter trend trades. It's probably a higher percentage than that. Uh, Here come the sellers again. No, get away from there. Look at that. They're going to tag me again, the scoundrels. Now, here's proof why counter trend trading is so difficult to do. Yeah. All right, well, that stinks. I'll put that back on the shelf for now. Well, I dug myself a nice little hole here this morning. Darn it. I thought I was going to have a short day. Now I'm going to have to hang out a little bit longer and try to get my try to offset my losses. Oh well. Okay, so they slipped to the next support level, as you can see here on the support and resistance suite. Finding a little bit of support off that price zone now. Well, it looks like the market having a nice little run lower here, forming a little bit of a bottom again. That first eagle signal actually had some very nice follow through. Just out of curiosity, how did that eagle signal perform yesterday? So the first in sync eagle signal looks like it produced right here. You had quite a bit of heat. In all honesty, I don't think I would have been able to keep my stops this deep, but had you been able to keep your stops 2 swings back, that signal would also have worked. Otherwise, I think, did you get enough out of here to get at least a break even? Oh, look at that. So you would have had a break even trade, or had you been a little more aggressive with your stops, you probably would have done a little better. Let's go back to the next day. Let's see how the first eagle signal worked here. So this was your first in sync eagle signal. This one of the few days that the first eagle signal not working out. It tends to be a pretty good signal overall. So here's the open, here's your first in sync signal. This again would have been difficult to take given the context preceding it. Very, very sideways, but it had a good follow through as well. So 4 out of 5, or pardon me, 3 out of 4. Okay, here on the Hawk, we now have a green bar sell. This is buyable because the green bar sell is actually our counter trend signal in the Hawk. You can use it as an early warning as well, that perhaps the trend is changing direction. You don't necessarily have to buy it. You can wait for the first micro-macro cross to develop. But that would be a reasonable buy. Falcon trying to change direction again. Here comes another hard edge bounce signal with the Raptor. So the Raptor still very bearish. And of course, a little bit late on that one, but it would have looked something like this. All right, a good solid test of the extreme. Should we go for the trifecta? Try to buy it one more time? We're getting a little bit of a bottom. Have we had, how many moves lower have we had? How many legs? Here's the open. It's a little tough to read. 1, 2, 3 maybe. So like this, 1, leg back, 2, leg back, 3, and no, I'm not counting Elliott waves. Yes, I know it lays out like an Elliott wave. Typically in the Eagle, we only see 2 waves, or 2 legs. I suppose you can call them waves. 2 legs in a move. 3 is a little unusual. I'm just wondering how much the sellers have left. Am I going to get tagged again on the buy side? I guess if you wanted, you could treat this number 3 signal, you could treat this as your second push. I know it's way far away. There's your second push entry. Now, normally the reaction comes immediately on the next bar. Here you can see the market drifted about 10 ticks before the buyers pushed back. Counter trend signals are always so tempting because they look so good. With trend signals never look as strong as the counter trend. All right, we're going to produce a number 2 signal here shortly. All right, so there's the counter trend. Let's see if I can get a second push on this one. Is that going to be enough of a pullback? All right, we'll take it just above the high. And third time's the charm, right? We'll take it above this, the high of this bar, the one that's flinching. And if we come back with a sell signal from here, you could interpret that as another hard edge bounce. Even though technically it did not touch the hard edge, it does still qualify. All right, here we go. And again, I'm going to try to run this trade out. Just bear in mind, the target for the trade is the hard edge. Oh, almost. Almost. We're hanging up here at this little swing high, 59.45. Obviously, we need to get above that. Come on. All right, let's see if they get a little push here. You can see the Geiger counter was pulling hard here to the buy side, and we're still kind of leaning that way. If I use my mouse correctly, I will be able to pull it over here. Oops, I gave it a little bit of a push. Let's try that again. We'll pull it over here to the buy side. Come on, you can do it. Oh dear. Got a double pullback now in the cloud, so a pretty good sell signal. There we go. Okay, so we followed up with yet another number 2 signal, kind of confirming the bottom might be in. Still watching and waiting. Hey, way to go, Mark. Mark says, my divergence indicator has given me 3 $100 trades this morning. Nicely done, Mark. He says, that's a total of $1,000 on the week with 2 days only trading. Now, you know what, folks? There's a lesson in itself right there. Mark says, I can't take any more with this sideways action, and I'm sitting out for the rest of the day on Sim. Another decent week. Here, Floyd's also sharing his input. So 1 second, I will build a chart as per Floyd's specifications. All right, so here we go. Floyd says, take a look at the ADX on a 30-second chart. So here we go. I'm assuming you're just going with the default settings, not that it would matter all that much. So what Floyd's looking for here, and are you going with the trend above 25? If so, you can see the market has spent very little time, or the indicator has spent very little time above the 25 area, suggesting that, hey, there's no trend here today. And how true is that? When you're using something like ADX, you need to remember it is non-directional. So it can be here, it can be above, but the market can actually be heading lower. So there's a little tip from Floyd's Toolbox if you're looking to. Let's see if this helps in any. Ah, there you go. So I just changed it to the regular session instead of the 24-hour session to filter out some of that overnight non-trading. And you can see not bad. You know, it did pick up a little bit of a trend through here. Again, remember, it is non-directional. The idea is if it's above 25, oh, Floyd uses 20. So here we'll change the parameters to Floyd's line. So all useful tips, so long as it's above the 20, Floyd's expecting the market to actually have some directionality to it. And once it gets below 20, well, then it just kind of goes sideways. And you can see that's kind of been the case. Okay, so above 20, you expect trend. There was a little bit more activity anyways, a little more follow through. And then below 20, you expect no trend. And that's kind of been, ooh, we're really low here now, aren't we? So as with all things trading related, remember the objective is that whatever you add to your chart actually helps you make a trading decision. If it doesn't help you make a trading decision, you know, it's still fun to play with these things, but the objective is to make money, right? Adam always used to call it mental masturbation because we get so caught up with tweaking our indicators. But I can see that being very useful. Thanks for sharing that, Floyd. But back to Mark's earlier comment, how he only traded 2 days this week. And that requires a lot of discipline. More discipline, I think, than many of us possess, to be able to look at a market and wait and wait and wait until you finally get that trade that you feel like putting some money on. So many people always kind of take the casino approach to trading, where they'll trade every single signal that comes along, and then they'll wonder why they're not making any money. Or, as I've so aptly demonstrated this morning, why you should not take counter-trend signals. Well, not a trading day for the books, I'm afraid. Well, that's kind of put the nix on it for me. 3 strikes and you're out. Yeah, Floyd says check out crude. Crude is the one we should have been watching today. I had a nice short position trade going on crude, and they tagged me just the other day at 49. I couldn't keep my stops far enough away. I'm so glad that I'm getting a second chance at this market. Crude inventories are huge. I can't account for the recent rally up, probably Hurricane Harvey, making everybody think there's going to be a shortage of crude oil. There is no shortage of crude oil. In fact, the refinery shutting down around the Houston area and through there only means there's more crude oil because it ain't getting refined. So right now, crude oil, only reasonable place for it to go is lower. And that was a very nice move. But here too, How many of us would have the discipline, crude oil open 6 a.m. Pacific, to sit and watch crude oil for almost an hour and a half before you get your signal? Like, let's be honest. Most of us don't have that kind of discipline. Most of us overtrade. And that is, it's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts, folks. I'm glad that, people like Mark and Peter and Floyd are all sharing their experiences so that everybody can benefit from them. And we just got a real mess going on here today, just very sideways trading range. I suppose you could try to sell the top, buy the bottom. It's a pretty narrow range, however. We will get a breakout from here somewhere. Yeah, Steven says the YM, that's the mini Dow, was the better trending market today. The E-mini as well. The E-mini actually had a pretty decent day overall. No obvious signals. The market opened right here. Got an early trend change signal, also working an early trend change signal here on the E-mini. So there's a doable E-mini trade. The clouds haven't crossed entirely yet. That's why I said it's an early signal. But like I said, the E-mini looking slightly more bullish. And the Russell probably also. The Russell and the mid-cap tend to be a little smoother markets. The NASDAQ, still my favorite. There tends to be enough volatility in there, but not to my advantage, not today anyway. Well, boys and girls, it's just a few minutes to the top of the hour. I think we may button up shop here a little bit early. It is Friday. It doesn't look like the market's going to do a whole lot today, except maybe range sideways. I do think there will be a little uptick through here somewhere through the day, but overall, it's just a very, very dead session. All right, have yourselves a great weekend. I will talk to you on Monday. We'll see you then. Bye for now.